Hello everybody, this is The Rift, and today we are going to be doing a playthrough of the intro Trials of the Eldar decks, Yuri versus Mei. Yuri, Fist of the Brine, is the hero that I'm going to be playing today. He is an aggressive warrior hero. He embodies ferocity and relentlessness. He's going to pay a lot of HP aggressively in order to get very powerful, otherwise undercosted effects. Obviously going to be a high-risk, high-reward hero. My opponent Metrix is going to be playing Mei, the Golden Eel. Very different from Yuri. Mei is an artificer. She is crafty and she relies on misdirection and confusion and tricks to make up for her relatively low power compared to Yuri. So while Yuri is very straightforward, Mei is going to be sneaky. Let's take a look at the hero cards themselves. Here's Yuri, Fist of the Brine, a 2-power, 10 HP warrior with awesome artwork by Sara Manca. He has 2 actions. His first action is a fast action called Unbroken Spirit, which allows him to extremely efficiently recover HP, but only once per match. His other action is a slow action called Intimidate, which allows him to increase the damage that will be dealt by future attacks against an enemy. He has an accompanying deck that contains warrior and paladin cards that is meant to be expanded with a second hero. Mei, the Golden Eel, is sort of Yuri's antithesis. She is a crafty artificer with 2 skill, 1 wisdom, 8 HP, and beautiful art by Snejkha. Mei has 1 action called Breakthrough, which allows her to keep her hand filled with cards like equipment, supports, and afflictions. But her bread and butter is her first effect, which allows her to deal 1 damage to any target enemy whenever any card becomes attached to her. So her whole deck is going to be about nickel and diming by regularly attaching new cards to Mei. She's creative and likes to get as much use out of that gear as possible. To start the game off, we're going to shuffle up our 30-card decks and then set our HP trackers to the appropriate number. We've already decided that I'm going to go first for this round, but if we hadn't decided that yet, we could decide it with a roll of the dice before drawing our opening 5-card hands. Each player, one time only, is allowed to look at their opening hand of 5 cards, decide if they don't want any of the cards in that hand, and then set them aside and draw new ones to replace it. We call this a partial mulligan. Any cards that you set aside during a mulligan, you can shuffle back into your deck afterwards. My hand has an array of cards that are offensive and defensive. We just took a look at Prize Fighting, which is rather defensive in nature. Iron Shell Plate, as you might guess from the name, is also a very defensive card. I've decided that for this video, I want to pursue a more aggressive playstyle, so I'm going to stick with cards like Pendant of Rising Fury, an extremely aggressive equipment, and Radiant Greathammer, which is both aggressive and good at staving off Mei's multitude of powerful support and equipment cards. So I'll draw 2 new cards to replace those, put those back in my deck, shuffle, and then we will head into the first round of the game. We'll set our round counter to yellow to indicate that it's round 1, and during the start phase, both heroes gain 1 focus. Then we move to the equip phase, and because I have initiative, I will start by playing Pendant of Rising Fury on my hero Yuri. Metrix will play his own equipment. This is Alchemist Tools, a very useful equipment for Mei. And whenever any card becomes attached to Mei, she deals 1 damage to target enemy, so Yuri's going to go ahead and take 1 damage from that effect. Now that we've both played our equipment cards, we move into the action phase. I, again, have initiative, so I'm going to start things off by using the action Rising Fury of my pendant. I will exhaust and pay 2 HP to set X equals 2 and deal 3 total damage to Mei. Now that I've dealt damage to her with Pendant of Rising Fury, its effect is in place, which says that for the rest of the round, Mei, having been dealt damage by Yuri, cannot gain any focus. Now Metrix has initiative, and with his action, he will use Mei's Transmaterialize ability, paying 1 focus, exhausting, and recalling Alchemist Tools to put Tinker's Apprentice into play and dealing 1 damage to Yuri. In addition to the 1 damage dealt to Yuri by Alchemist Tool's Transmaterialize action, he also takes a damage from Mei attaching a new card to her, so this is 2 total damage to Yuri. Fortunately, the amulet or the pendant that Yuri used earlier is going to prevent Mei from gaining focus from the effect of Tinker's Apprentice. I could play into the fray here. I have the focus to do it. It would help me deal more damage, but it would also help Mei target me more easily with that very powerful equipment, Alchemist Tools. I anticipate that she's going to replay that next turn, so I'm going to hold off on playing into the fray here and instead yield, maintaining my focus. Metrix yields back, which sends us into the end phase, and Tinker's Apprentice has an end of turn trigger. Metrix looks at the top card of his deck. If it is an equipment or support card, he can choose to reveal it and put it into his hand. He gets lucky and reveals Arm of the Deep, the powerful Artificer equipment card. That constrict ability is often the bane of my existence. So, Metrix will take that Arm of the Deep and put it into his hand. If he hadn't revealed a card this way, he could have instead put it on the bottom of his deck. To end the round, we both draw a card and we move into round 2. I'm a little relieved to have drawn Sundering Blow here, because this is a card that allows me to potentially destroy equipments. I now know of 2 scary equipment cards in Mei's player's hand, both Arm of the Deep and Alchemist Tools. To start round 2, both heroes become refreshed and gain 1 focus. And because I yielded first, I have initiative, and I can choose to play a new equipment if I want to. I have to make a choice here. Do I want to keep my Amulet of Fury, or would I rather play out my Radiant Greathammer to destroy an equipment or support card? Well, before I drew Sundering Blow, I was planning on playing the Radiant Greathammer, but now that I have Sundering Blow to destroy an equipment, I think I'm going to keep the Pendant of Rising Fury in play, because it allows me to prevent too much focus gain that could otherwise happen as a result of Tinker's Apprentice. After choosing not to play an equipment, it's Metrix's turn to choose, and he chooses to play Alchemist Tools back onto Mei, which triggers a whole bunch of things. Mei deals 1 damage to Yuri, and Tinker's Apprentice causes Mei to gain 1 focus. Moving out of the equip phase into the action phase, I'm up first, and I'm going to kick things off, wasting no time. I'm going to use Sundering Blow to attempt to destroy Mei's Alchemist Tools. So this command card says, I deal 1 damage to a target enemy, and if I deal damage to them, then I can also destroy an equipment attached to them. So as long as this attack hits, I will be able to destroy Alchemist Tools. Unfortunately for me, Mei, the crafty artificer, has a Thief card in her hand, which prevents the damage that's going to be dealt by Sundering Blow. Umbral Veil is a support card where you pay X to prevent X damage. Mei paid X equals 1, so she will prevent 1 damage from Sundering Blow, which is very bad for me, because not only does it prevent the damage and therefore prevent the destruction of Alchemist Tools, but it also triggers that second effect of Umbral Veil and causes me to lose an HP. Finally, because Umbral Veil is attached to Mei, Mei gets to deal 1 damage. This is a very bad situation for me. I thought I was going to get to deal a damage and destroy Alchemist Tools, and instead what happened was I didn't destroy Alchemist Tools, I didn't deal any damage, and I lost 2 HP. So sometimes you think you have a plan against Mei, and she's just a little bit too tricky. So with all that said and done, I am feeling pretty behind at this point, and now it is Mei's action. Perhaps the scariest thing that could happen here is what does happen. Mei's player Metrix decides to yield. So even after all that, Mei says, no, I have nothing else I need to do, go ahead. I'm left with a choice now. Do I heal Yuri now or later? I could use Unbreakable Spirit or Unbroken Spirit right now to gain up to 3 HP. If I do that, I'm at least safe for now. If I wait, I might be able to recover more a little bit later once I built up some more focus. Mei can deal a lot of damage in unexpected ways, so I'm deciding, you know what, I think it's probably worth it for me to just recover this HP now, lock it in when I know it's going to work. I'll just pay my 1 focus and gain 1 plus power HP for a total of gaining 3. And when I do this, I set up for this cool little flurry of plays with Impatient Assault against an enemy that has yielded. Impatient Assault rewards you for spending all of your focus all the time and punishes your opponents for being patient. Mei seems to be taking a patient approach here by moving slowly, yielding early, and keeping her focus, and I get to say, you know what, I'm here to push things forward. We're not here to wait. I'm impatient. So I get to deal 3 damage to Mei for 0 focus, and dealing 3 damage to Mei triggers the effect of Pendant of Rising Fury. Mei cannot gain focus for the rest of the round, which is going to come up in a second. That's the last thing I can do. I have nothing left. I'm exhausted. I have no focus. So we're going to go to the end phase. In the end phase, Mei would normally gain 1 focus from her unused action token, but because I dealt damage to her, Pendant of Rising Fury says, no, you're not allowed to gain focus this round. So I get to at least slow down Mei's accumulation of focus here. Because Metrix yielded first at the end of round 2, he starts with initiative here in round 3. So Mei gets to play the first equipment in the equip phase. This is the time where Metrix decides to play Arm of the Deep. As with any card being attached to Mei, Yuri is dealt 1 damage, and now I am afraid of Constrict. Constrict is especially strong if you have initiative because you can lock up another hero as soon as you play it before they get a chance to take any actions during the subsequent action phase. Realizing that I am already at low HP, I've already used Unbroken Spirit, and I'm probably going to be under the effects of Constrict this round, I don't think I'm going to have any more opportunities to pay HP this match. So it's time to get rid of that Amulet of Fury and replace it with something that doesn't require me to pay HP. To start off the action phase with initiative, Metrix is going to use the Constrict action of Arm of the Deep, targeting Yuri. Constrict has 2 effects. One of them is applying a condition to Yuri. The condition it applies is a debuff called Dazed. In Tabletop Simulator, you can use these tokens over on the left to represent these conditions as long as they last. Arm of the Deep makes Yuri dazed until end of round. The other effect is that whenever Yuri spends focus this round for any reason, he loses that much HP. So my actions cost more, and they make me lose HP. My only realistic choice this round is to yield pretty much right away. Metrix sees his opening and pounces at the opportunity by playing Mei's strongest card, Improvised Ammunition. Improvised Ammunition requires you to sacrifice an equipment in order to play it, in addition to paying the 2 focus cost. But in exchange for this, you get a lot of damage without even having to exhaust your hero. Mei has 2 skill, which means Improvised Ammunition will deal 2 damage to Yuri. Then, if she sacrificed an Artificer equipment, which she did, she deals Wisdom damage to everyone, so that's an additional 1 damage to all heroes. The net outcome here is 3 damage to Yuri and 1 damage to Mei, putting both heroes to 1 HP. This is making for a pretty exciting finish, and I must imagine that Metrix has some tricks up his sleeve because he's now given me initiative with his hero at 1 HP. In the end phase, there isn't really anything to do for either of us except for me to gain 1 focus because I have an unused action token. During the end phase, all conditions will disappear, and then as always, we both draw our new card. My back is against the wall here in this equip phase. If Mei has any equipment to attach, her passive effect will cause her to deal 1 damage to me, defeating me on the spot. Even if she doesn't have an equipment to play, if she has any way to prevent the amount of damage that I'm dealing, then I'll die because Umbral Veil will drain me of 1 HP. So the decision I have to make here is how much damage am I going to try to deal? I decide to stick with the Radiant Great Hammer. I pass to Metrix, who fortunately for me does not have an equipment to attach to Mei, so at the very least I make it out of this equip phase. Moving into the action phase, I'm wasting no time as usual. I will immediately go for a 2 damage swing at Mei, trying to finish her off. As I was afraid, Metrix does have another trick up his sleeve, and this time Mei will uncannily dodge my incoming Vanishing Smite. Uncanny Dodge prevents 2 damage because of Mei's skill. That's how much damage I was dealing, which means the damage is reduced to 0, and Umbral Veil, as a result, drains me of my last hit point, and Yuri is defeated by Mei. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you learned something from it, and most of all, I hope that it got you excited about playing the game yourself. These decks are available for print and playtest experimentation on the Discord. You can also join the Discord to meet other players to play with on Tabletop Simulator, ask questions about the game, and hopefully get your friends involved too. Thank you so much for watching.